Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And his Dungeons and Dragons is going to take us beyond with D&D Beyond. Jump down the description below where you find Nerdarchy, the newsletter, gain weekly tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy. D&D Beyond just got another upgrade again. So far, we still only have SRD in there, as well as the Player's Companion to Elemental Evil.
Yes.
So it's still a lot of stuff in there to play with. Also, there's a lot of homebrew stuff in there now,
Which is actually a little exciting. And, part of me, we'll go into more later, but part of me is like, all right, well, what are other people creating? So that's an option that you can go in and see that. Not only can you use that as new monsters, new spells, but, you can kind of like, I've got some new options, and you can put your own stuff in there and share that out.
Right. So what are we looking at? We're looking at character building. We're looking at homebrew content. You can also put campaign information in there now.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically, there's a section to a write up, and then you can share that publicly or privately. All the stuff actually can be shared publicly or privately.
Right.
And it does appear too that there is some kind of moderation on the public stuff.
Yeah, when I read through, specifically on the monsters, and I'm guessing the spells is the same way. You submit your idea, and you've got your copy. For your games, you can use whatever you want. But if you click that box to say I'm willing to share this out publicly, the cursed people, the people behind it all, they're going to look at that stuff and they're going to say, okay, well, I think this seems legit. I'm going to push that through. And this way it's a kind of double check just in case someone's like, oh, I'm going to take a Tyrannosaurus Rex and say it's a challenge 1 and put it out there.
I doubt it. I actually think what it's really for is so you can't go and take the information that's IP and re-enter it. I believe that's actually the real reason.
Okay.
I doubt they're going to be policing the, how well written everything is and things like that. I think it's more going to be like, oh, did someone just really upload the monster manual into the system? Okay.
I hadn't even thought of that kind of route, but that's definitely a good idea.
Well, also it's not just that too. Like, what if they take someone else's property and upload it in there? Then they're liable. So my guess is one of the reasons why that there's the buffer between public and private is so that someone can't do that. Now, if you're only using it privately, you're probably okay to upload some of that information, and you're just going to use it yourself. Like you purchase Tome of Beasts from Global Press, and then you're like, okay, I want to use this. I want to be able to pull up this information in my game. Here it is. And because it's private, you can do that. But if you were to click public, they'd be like, oh no, you can't do this. This is copyrighted material.
Right.
That's my guess.
Okay.
We also watched the Adam Bradford and Leah Koons interview with Dungeon Life. From Todd Kenreck, I believe.
Yes.
We actually had him on the show, on one of our live chat shows not that long ago. Go check out Dungeon Life. He puts on an awesome show. But, anyway, so they were talking about some things. And there is one area where I'm a little bit concerned. Right?
All right, go for it.
Now, I have absolutely no problem with subscriptions. I would love to pay a subscription and just get everything as it comes out.
Right.
That would make me super happy. Right now, they're talking about 3 tiers. They call it 2 tiers. It's really 3.
It's 3. Well, you've got the free tier that you're going to have access to just the SRD. You're going to have the ability to make stuff for yourself, and you're going to have up to 6 characters that you can make. And that's kind of like what you got. It's nice. You can look at stuff, but if you want to get into the actual shared homebrew content, you want to make an unlimited number of characters, you want to really get in there and get your hands dirty, so to speak, you want, was it the hero tier?
The hero tier.
And I don't believe he talked prices yet.
No, they're not talking prices yet.
But that's where I think I would be at. Because it's like, all right, I want to get in there. I want to see what other people are making, not only because I really enjoy looking at new monsters and creating new monsters, but being able to see, everyone else's stuff, I think that's really awesome. So that's where I would be at. But then the third tier, what did they call it?
I think it was like Game Masters tier or something like that.
So this one was I have access to all this content. You get you whatever products you purchase, you have access to, and then you would be able to share that with up to 12 other players. So if you're the game master and your players don't want to buy anything, but you've got all the books, you can literally share that with your table. They have access to all the books that you do, and therefore, if you've got the Player's Handbook and Volo's Guide, and they want to make characters based off of those, they can do so with that free subscription and not have to pay anything additional.
Right, or a group could go in and have a shared account or
Right.
whatever. Okay, so I'm okay with all that. Here's my problem. It sounds like you're going to have to purchase everything a la carte.
That is kind of what I saw as well. Not only do you have the the monthly subscription for D&D Beyond, but if you've already got, as you can see behind Dave here, all of the actual physical books, if you want the books within D&D Beyond, you would then have to buy the ebooks as well. That's my understanding of the video.
So there are some areas where I would be okay with this, and then there are some areas I'm not. Like if they're going to charge you full price for the digital version, that's going to suck, especially if you already own the physical copy.
Right.
And then you also have to pay subscriptions on top of that, so that would be annoying. Some companies will do, hey, buy the physical copy, get the digital copy for like $5.
Mm-hmm.
That always worked great for me, and you always got an extra $5 out of me when you did that.
Right.
I would literally buy the physical copy, and then I'd be like, I'll download the PDF right now. I would love to do that. So if it's something like that, sure, I would love to do that. But because they're two separate companies, I don't know how that's going to work.
Right.
And I suspect on our end it's not going to be great for the consumer.
There are a number of different companies out there that do deal with the physical copybook and the ebook. The company that I work for, I deal with this kind of stuff all the time. So I don't know what they're doing. It's speculation at this point.
But the problem is the huge difference here is you're one company. You're not two companies dealing with that.
Correct.
This is two companies, and everyone's going to want a piece of the pie.
But I know of what I know there are other ways around it, whether or not D&D Beyond, Curse, however you want to refer to it. I don't know what their plans are. I mean, there are easier ways to prove that you have the physical thing, and if they're willing to do a little bit of extra customer service, there are ways to say, all right, well, this is a way you can go and do this. And again, dealing with the company that I do my full-time job, yeah. I deal with that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, it creates this interesting dichotomy. Like one, Wizards of the Coast likes to support flags, right? Mm-hmm. So you have that aspect. Then you have like the Amazon aspect, mm-hmm. right? The elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. Then you have the fact you could literally just purchase the books from Wizards of the Coast themselves.
Right.
So I mean, like the easiest thing would be like, okay, you get some kind of e-certification when you make the purchase, and then you can go to Curse and go, here's this thing, mm-hmm. and now give me the other stuff, and you get a discounted price. Like that's what I would like to see, but. Because now there's so many hands and so many moving pieces, it becomes more and more difficult to do right. that.
So first and foremost, I will point out that they are talking about that when you do this, you are actually being able to download the PDF, which this is the first that we're actually hearing of 5th edition having digital products out there. And if you're talking about...
Well, I'm not sure if they said PDF or file. Which might not be the same thing. It might be the file that their system will read.
Okay, well, that is true.
But this is as close as we've gotten to digital products for 5th edition.
True. Now, he did say, you would be able to download the book.
Yeah.
And to me, my interpretation of that was you have access to the book on your thing because it's a download, not a plug-in for this particular app or, website. So that was my interpretation of what he said, and only time will tell what direction it winds up going in. But to me, that was like, all right, I'm going to get the thing so I can access it, on my tablet, on my computer, on my laptop, whatever it is that you're doing, as well as have it interact with the program itself, which to me, that's a really important thing because I look at the program, and right now it's using the basic rules and Elemental, Player's Guide to Elemental Evil. And I'm like, I want Volo's Guide. I want to be able to use these monstrous races.
Oh, with the player's handbook. The little things.
Well, yeah, but
the rest of the player's handbook.
A lot of the player's handbook is there. I mean, we only have like 4 or 5 backgrounds to choose from. Going through the character creation was one of those things. I was like, wow, I have very limited options here, because I dove into it before getting into the actual video. So
yeah, I haven't really been following closely, but I just noticed like a flurry of activity on Facebook about D&D Beyond. So I'm like, oh, let me check this out, because it didn't really interest me that much what was there previously. Now I'm like, oh well, now it's becoming a little more robust. You can see what's there. It's got me excited enough to go, okay, I want the full thing.
Right.
But not enough to like, okay, I'm going to start using this.
Right.
It is nice that, and they also talked about some other features that are really nice, like monster progression, making monsters weaker or stronger. And he literally talked about the thing that we kind of talk about all the time doing is reskinning. And I'm like, well, what is actually easier than reskinning a monster? Pushing a button that just makes it what you want it to be.
So I don't know how that's going to wind up working, but the example that he used in his video was you take the basic mage NPC in the back of the monster manual, and you have the archmage NPC in the back of the monster manual. And what if you want something that's kind of in this slide zone here? How do you deal with that? And he's like, you could reskin something and give him magic and hope it works. But here was a thing that's like, all right, well, I could do this and I could just progress that monster. And I'm like, that's a really worthwhile thing for DMs, because there's times that you want to use a specific type of thing, either be it a thematic or, racial or however you want to look at it. But there's just nothing that falls easy into there. And yeah, we've reskinned lots of stuff. But if you've got the ability to click a button and say, okay, well, now I've got something that's a couple CRs higher.
Right. Like, Nerdarchy's really big on saying you don't have to make a new monster. You can just reskin something. But they even got us beat here. Like, click a button. Yeah, that's way easier than even reskinning the monster for the most part, if all you're trying to do is make a stronger or weaker version of something.
Right.
So that's a really nice feature. The idea that they're going to add a character builder is really nice. Not the character builder, that's kind of already there. I mean, the encounter builder, that is something I'm excited about. I've always enjoyed that. It does make your prep time as a DM so much shorter.
Right.
Whether you're running from a laptop or you're going to like just print out your encounters and have them on hand. All that is super helpful.
So do we want to actually dive into any of the actual nuts and bolts of our experiences?
Yeah, well, okay, so we played with the character builder a little bit. Some of the things, like you were messing with, and you're like, well, this isn't working, this part's broken, and like you had to go in and hit some buttons, and it fixed it, right?
Right.
But then there was some other areas where there still seems to be bugs.
So I was in there, and I just chose some things randomly, and I went up with a Dragonborn monk, and I wanted to see, well, what would the visibility look like if I bumped him to level 4 or level 5, and I started off with that. But then when I got to the view my character sheet, he had 9 hit points. And he had, underneath the character portrait, it said level 5. But then underneath his name, it said Dragonborn Monk, level 1. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on here. Dave and I, kind of fiddled around, with our own characters and what have you. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, now it says he's got 33 hit points. And with a low constitution score, of course that's going to happen.
Right, and then you're actually able, then we're like, oh, here's this part where you can actually do the stat bumps. Oh, now he's got 38 hit points. So it seemed to work out all right. But then when I kind of did like, oh, they have like a random build or a quick build. They actually have both, right? I don't really remember which one I did. I did one of them. And it gave me a half orc monk acolyte. Mm-hmm. And he only had 1 proficiency. It was only showing. Oh no! It was my 3rd level barbarian, Water Gansai. The other one was actually correct, but the 3rd level Water Gansai Genasi, I should say.
Well,
barbarian.
Speaking of that, they're actually talking about having a pronunciation guide to actually show you what is the correct way to say certain D&D words, so that you can figure out what is the correct way to say it.
Yeah, and not only that, they're talking to Matt Mercer and Marisha Ray and having them actually do it. So that's pretty cool as well. So you guys, when you guys are arguing with me and telling me I'm wrong, you can send me the link to D&D Beyond where you can prove that I'm saying it wrong.
but we're stubborn, and we probably will continue to say.
Well,
say it
I'll
wrong.
still probably mispronounce it anyway. Yeah, but anyway, so with that particular character, it was showing proficiency in only one skill.
Right, you had you had it where he had survival, but it showed in proficiencies that he was trained in animal handling.
Yes.
But when you actually look at the spot where the skills were,
It wasn't checked off.
It wasn't checked off. It wasn't showing the elevated, number. So,
And it was also giving me a disguise kit as my artisan tools. But that's just a computer going, you put this in the artisan tools thing, I picked it.
Right, yeah.
So it's actually not the computer's fault, it's the stupid human's fault.
And I thought it was kind of amusing when I was choosing my gaming set, and I know this because it's in the SRD, but it's like, okay, you can choose cards or dice. You couldn't choose dragon chess.
Oh, because
So I'm like, why would you just not have dragon chess in the SRD? Come on,
because it's dragon chess, man. And maybe it's copyrighted. No, so far it looks promising. That's what I would like to say. The Twitch integration sounds super cool, even though we haven't really done much with Twitch. We're thinking about it. And so my question is, like, how far are they going to go with the Twitch integration? Is it going to replace virtual tabletops?
It sounds pretty impressive what they were talking about. They're talking about actually having that your profile from your D&D Beyond, you can import into Twitch
Your campaigns.
So into the campaign, so that when you show up, it's going to have your overlay there, and when somebody looks at it, it's going to be able to display hit points. It's going to be able to display the character information there. When a DM is running and you get a condition, like, they can literally click the button and have your character be affected. And then not only you but the viewers have the ability to look and see what's happening to you, and as a player, like, oh well, what does being poisoned mean? You hover over and boom, there's the description of what penalties you have based on that condition.
And that's actually a step beyond anything any other virtual tabletop is doing as far as viewing, right?
Right.
Where because you're doing a virtual tabletop, and then you're going to it's going to be usually hosted and shown somewhere else. They don't have the ability to play with the overlays in that way, where like Roll20 might show the conditions and you have the tokens on you. You don't have the ability to mouse over.
Right.
Now, as a viewer, you can go over and mouse over the character that you want to look at, and you can actually see their character sheet, and you can see the condition. You can see what that condition actually means. So that's kind of a big deal. They're talking about having an order tracker. So if you come in the middle of a stream, you go, oh, you can see whose turn it is. Now that stuff is kind of in virtual tabletops, but it's the ability to mouse over that seems really impressive. And this is an area where they could really blow away Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, and any of the other upcoming, because everything's owned by the same people. They have a lot more flexibility on what they do on that platform.
And partnering with Wizards, they're going to have the most availability of that information, whereas the other companies, even if they wanted to, they wouldn't have the licensing to be able to say, I'm going to take this text and put it there because it's in the books.
Right, except for they do have the licensing. Both Fantasy Grounds and Roll20, you can put that information right in there.
Okay. Well,
and they're going to tell you and rip you apart in the comments about that. We don't use a lot of virtual tabletops, but yeah. So that information is there. So Wizards, and that's great for Wizards of the Coast, because no matter what your chosen platform is, you can use any of them and you can access the material. But the big thing is like streamers, like what streamers are going to be able to do. And it just makes me wonder how far D&D Beyond is going to push it. Are they going to move into the territory of virtual tabletops, which, that level of integration with the actual viewing platform and the tabletop, that could be pretty cool.
I think so.
That would open doors that, the other ones just don't have access to.
Right.
It would almost be like an unfair fight, to be honest with you.
So did you happen to get into the created monsters or created spells at all?
I just looked to see that they're there, and people are already uploading them. Like, so literally, like, the thing has only been live for a day or two, I think. And they're already doing that. So that's really cool. And I think I saw some older ones, but it almost makes me believe that they're actually people that work for Curse.
Yeah, there's probably
putting them in there.
Probably one of the 8 devs that they have they said they're working full time.
Yes.
So I think they wanted to have, okay, well, let's create some stuff to throw in there so that when you get there, you already have some options to look at, which I thought was pretty handy. And what are we 24 hours in at this point in time tops from when they announced it.
I'm not sure exactly, but the thing is, Wizards of the Coast has wanted a virtual tabletop and wanted virtual tools from the beginning. They even contracted a company and then scrapped it, which we had talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe this is the platform that's going to work for them. There's Twitch D&D channel now. Literally, Wizards of the Coast has their own Twitch channel where they're putting people on there like Rudy and Satine, as well as a bunch. I think Misclicks also have a show on there. Their Dragon Talk podcast is now over there, I believe. So they're really doing a lot with the Twitch and really pushing, Dungeons and Dragon as a media platform,
right?
Not just the tabletop game anymore. It makes some really interesting possibilities for the future.
Right. So going back to the monster section for a brief section, your display you can look at creature type, challenge rating, and have that information layered out there for you to be able to, okay, I want to jump in and I'm looking for this, and the homebrew spells that are out there are the exact same way as well. You have the ability to okay, well, I want to look for this level spell or this level cantrip, and you can get right into the nuts and bolts of it. So I thought that was really neat, really awesome to be able to access, and again, seeing what other people are sharing allows you to be okay, well, I can put out a new spell into my game without waiting for Wizards to actually come up with a new product. So monsters, spells, homebrew stuff, awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. So far it looks very promising. 4th edition had a really good tool set, and I think this is going to blow it away, so I'm excited. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Are you excited for this? Do you want it, or you could care less? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Facebook.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.